Later today at the Labour Party conference, Chancellor Rachel Reeves will promise to abolish long-term youth unemployment.
Under her new plans, young people who turn down a job after 18 months on benefits face being stripped of their state handouts. Chancellor Rachel Reeves joins us now. Very good morning to you. You have a budget coming up at the end of November. It's very late for a budget, so you've obviously built in a lot of time to try and work out what you might do. Yesterday, the Prime Minister did not rule out increasing VAT. He said the manifesto stands. So does that mean that you might increase VAT or that you can rule out increasing VAT? Because the manifesto says that you will not increase VAT.
The manifesto stands, and it stands for a reason, that working people bore the brunt of the economic mismanagement of the last government, and the cost of living challenges are still people's #1 biggest concern. And that's why I'm determined to make working people better off, and why I'm determined not to increase those key taxes that working people pay. And that's why we made those commitments in the manifesto, and that's why we stand by them.
So you've gone further than the Prime Minister. You're not going to increase VAT.
Well, what I'm doing is explaining why we made those commitments and why they stand. And the Prime Minister said they stood yesterday. And
can I just,
the reason behind that...
Can you rule out increasing VAT? It's a yes or no?
What I'm saying to you
no,
is
I've
that
asked the question, can you
commitments
rule out increasing VAT?
A reason.
I know, but can you rule it out?
The manifesto stands, and it stands for a reason. Look, I'm not going to, on this programme, 2 months ahead of the budget, to go through it line by line.
No, I've only asked you about one thing and one line.
Yes, but we made that commitment in the manifesto. We made it for a reason, and those commitments stand. Those commitments remain our commitments for this budget and for this Parliament. The manifesto stands, Susanna.
OK, so sorry, I just want to translate this. You will not increase VAT in the budget.
The manifesto that we stood on made those commitments around VAT, income tax and national insurance, and we did that for a good reason, and that reason continues to exist. So that's why we made that commitment, and that manifesto commitment stands.
I don't understand. Sorry, Chancellor, with respect, I don't understand why it's such a hard question to simply answer yes or no to. Nobody's asking you for the reason why you put it in the manifesto. Yes. You put it in a manifesto because you wanted to win an election. What people want to know is, are you going to raise VAT? It's a simple yes or no answer.
Yeah. No, the problem is, Susanna, is that as soon as you answer one question, you'll move on to the next one. We made a manifesto commitment about those 3 specific taxes, and that manifesto commitment stands. And it is really important for me that at the end of this Parliament, and indeed after the budget, that working people feel better off. And at the budget last year, and I'd say, judge me on my record, because at the budget last year, we had to fill a black hole in the public finances. I wanted to put more money into the NHS. Lots of people said, oh, you're not going to be able to stick with your manifesto commitments, and we did. I did stick to those manifesto commitments. It meant difficult decisions elsewhere, but in our budget last year, in my first budget as Chancellor, we stuck with those commitments, and what I said before that is those manifesto commitments stand. They still stand, and they stand now.
Can I ask you about what you said to the CBI following that budget last November? You said that you'd put public finances back on a firm footing, and that means I'm really clear I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes. Does that still stand?
Well, what I had to do in the budget last year was a once-in-a-Parliament budget, and it was to sort out the inheritance that we faced. And when I became Chancellor, it was in very difficult circumstances. We've been through this massive cost-of-living crisis. borrowing was out of control. Interest rates and inflation had both gone through the roof, and also public services were in a mess. And that's why I had to make a number of decisions last year at the budget, and we did all of that, and we did put our public finances on a firm footing, and we've also now set out the spending plans for the next 3 years. So those problems have been addressed. But I think anybody who watches the news, watches your programme over the last year, can see the challenges that we face in the world. The impact of tariffs on global trade.
Are you going to put taxes up in the budget?
Not just in Ukraine, but also in the Middle East. Well, I'll set out the budget on the 26th of November.
So you won't rule that out?
I think people can see the challenges that we're facing. And I'll set out the programme then. But it's not just
So when
about
you said
tax
I'm not
spending,
coming back with more borrowing and more taxes, that doesn't stand any longer. You are going to have to come back with more taxes because there's more borrowing.
Well, Ed, you'll know the fiscal rules and the economic stability that I've committed to, and your viewers want to know that they can trust me with the public finances and trust me with the economy, and they absolutely can. And we've had 5 cuts in interest rates this last year. For families watching this morning, if they've got a mortgage, if they've had to renew their mortgage, they're on a better deal than they thought they might be when we came into office.
Interest rates are a Bank of England decision, not a government decision, of course.
Yes,
and we know that inflation,
I know that.
And inflation is well above.
I know that.
Right. So why would you claim credit for that?
Because the Bank of England have only been able to cut interest rates because of the stability that we've returned to the economy. Interest rates went up sharply under the previous government because they lost control of the public finances, lost control of the economy, lost control of inflation, and interest rates went through the roof. And it was working families that paid the price for that, and businesses as well. We've had 5 cuts in interest rates in our first 15 months in office. That has taken money off of people's mortgages, and for businesses, it's reduced the cost of borrowing for them as well.
But to be clear, that you are saying that while you won't tell us about VAT, because of those changes which have happened in the last year, you are now going to have further tax rises in the budget. That's where we are, isn't it?
Well, I haven't yet had the first independent forecasts on the fiscal environment, and that will set out what the economy looks like and how we will continue to provide that.
But your officials told Robert Peston, the ITV political editor, that it was going to be a £30 billion tax rise. That's what the Treasury told Robert Peston last week. It would be a £30 billion tax rise. I mean, you know, it may be 25, maybe 35, maybe 20, maybe 40, but it's not going to be zero, is it?
Well, Ed, we haven't yet had those numbers. Those numbers haven't yet been presented to me. Those numbers haven't yet been produced, and I'll set all of that out in the budget. But I think all of your viewers do understand the challenges in the world at the moment. Just a few months ago, global tariffs increased. We have an ongoing situation in Ukraine where those Russian attacks have intensified in the last few days, and we've got the ongoing situation in Israel and Gaza. All of those have an impact both on what government needs to spend to keep our country safe, but they also have an impact on the strength of the economy and the uncertainty in the economy. And I'm Chancellor in the world as it is, not in the world that I might wish it to be. And would I prefer to be in a world where we had stronger growth, where we had lower barriers to trade, where the world was more peaceful, where our public finances were in a better condition? Of course I do. But that is not the environment in which I am Chancellor. And other Chancellors, whether it was Gordon Brown in 1997, he faced a situation where public services were in a mess, but the economy was growing. David Cameron and George Osborne faced a world where public services were strong, but the economy was damaged from the global financial crisis.
As you say, we're in the world as it is right now. People will be astonished to hear that.
And I have to respond to that.
That they think that you think, that you're saying that you've stabilised the economy. The economy is completely flatlined. You have inflation 3.8%, way above target. Food and drink inflation, people's bills, shopping bills, rose to 5.1% in August. If you want to buy beef, that's up almost 25%. You say that the manifesto stands. Labour wouldn't increase taxes on working people, wouldn't increase national insurance, the basic higher or additional rates of income tax or VAT. You can't rule out raising VAT. And you raise national insurance for working people who are employers. So, you know, aren't you out of touch with the people watching your interview?
Well, I'm the first to accept that there is more to do. Absolutely there's more to do to make working people better off. Absolutely there's more to do to bring down hospital waiting lists. But if someone had said 15 months ago that we would have the fastest growing economy in the G7, that we would secure trade deals with the US, with India and with the EU, that there'd be 5 cuts in interest rates, that we would increase the national living wage and the national minimum wage by record amounts, I think a lot of people said that's not going to be possible. But we have achieved those things. We're 15 months into this government. Wages, after adjusting for inflation, are increasing. But there's more to do. I know that. So I absolutely recognise that. I see that every day when I talk to people, when I talk to businesses. But we've made a start in turning around the condition of the economy, the condition of the public finances, and crucially, the condition of our public services. Our NHS waiting lists are down by 200,000 compared to when we came into office.
Right.
So I want to make further progress, absolutely, but we've made a start.
Chancellor Rachel Reeves, thanks very much indeed.